Ladies and gentlemen, welcome wrestling fans worldwide to Knoxville and the Great Smoky Mountains for the Ron Fuller Tennessee Studcast.
6 feet 9 inches tall, 265 pounds.
This historic podcast from one of the most respected and successful wrestlers and promoters will follow the footsteps of the largest and oldest wrestling family on the planet.
Listen to what I'm saying. That's right. Bring that camera in here a little bit closer.
Through 93 years and 4 generations.
The stud has arrived.
Old school or new fan, this unique broadcast will educate and captivate as Ron details decades of professional wrestling's growth with truly unforgettable stories.
I want those people out there at home to hear the stud.
Sit back and enjoy the ride with the Tennessee Stud.
The Tennessee Stud. You will learn that name. You will remember it.
And now,
the stud is here.
Hey everybody, welcome in. It's David Summers, and here comes another Studcast with the Tennessee Stud, Ron Fuller. This is the story of wrestling in America as told by the Stud, whose family started the profession over 100 years ago. So now, let's step back into the ring, back into time. Let's get wall to wall and treetop tall with the Tennessee Stud, Ron Fuller. Hey, Ron, your last 6 Studcast, all of them, on the TennesseeStudStreaming.com channel have been so great. Not only because you now have hundreds of hours of historic video from 44 years ago, but those videos are now being inserted into every Studcast that you do. I think that is so cool. It's hard to believe for 7.5 years that you've had to describe things in every Studcast, and it has still been one of the most popular podcasts in the world. So the difference now is like the difference between radio and television. The one you've been doing for years, fans could only hear, but now the new one, fans can see it and hear it. How about that?
Oh, man. Well, you're absolutely correct, Dave. It's like day and night. You know, I want fans to get the best Studcast possible. I've been waiting for this moment basically for years. At TennesseeStudStreaming.com right now, fans are finally going to be able to experience the new Studcast and allow them to see and hear the matches and realize what they have been missing for so long. So it's been a real it's been a real struggle here to get this done, it seems like, but finally we are getting to the point we can. So the cost, basically, switching from radio to television way back in the day was significant, obviously, certainly much more than the 17 cents a day, only $4.99 per month, or the $49.99 per year for today's fans. To get the best Studcast I can possibly give them, man. That's what I'm planning on doing. Simply investing $4.99 at TennesseeStudStreaming.com, and you find yourself with what you're missing, man. The $4.99 also comes with hundreds of hours of old school wrestling TV shows, short rides with the stud stories, and so much more. I call it basically catching the train to old school wrestling.
These new Studcasts also verify how much better the wrestling itself was back in the 1980s compared to what we see today. I think everybody would agree with that. It also highlights the difference in wrestling TV shows back then when it was mostly wrestling compared to the TV shows today, which are mostly talk. So where are we riding this week's Stud?
Well, we're going to be doing the 387th Studcast titled 18-Man, 2-Ring Battle Royal with another great card. In the last week of September, we're talking about 1981, and this new Studcast has more than 20 minutes of the original TV show's content with interviews from some of the greatest stars of that time. You're going to hear from Paul Orndorff, Bob Armstrong, Masa Saiito, Ron Bass, Norvell Austin, Dennis Condre, Jimmy Golden, Jerry Stubbs, and that's just to name a few. Classic old school matches and an unforgettable demonstration by Masa Saiito that fans will end up talking about for months after it happened.
All right, but before you go any further, Stud, speaking of Saito, I've got a question I've always wanted to ask. He seems like one of the best Japanese wrestlers in history, but we've never talked about that very much. So what is the story on Masa Saiito?
Well, he was actually a tremendous amateur wrestler. In fact, he finished 7th in the 1964 Olympics representing Japan. He was sent to America by owners of both Japanese wrestling companies to wrestle for as many territories and companies as possible, I think is the way they told him what they wanted him to do, and learn the art of American wrestling. Southeastern was one of his first choices as the territory to come to. And after that, he ended up working in Florida. He was their champion there. He went to the AWA up in Minnesota with Vern Gagne. He was their world champion there. He went to the WWF in New York. He was their tag team champion with another Japanese wrestler who worked for me in Knoxville way back in the 1970s, Mr. Fuji.
Wow.
He was at WCW and many others. He held belts basically all over the world. And when he went home to Japan late in his career, he became trainer for both of those Japanese companies, and was said to be, I think they say the Japanese stars that I talked to, they say he was the best trainer of all time. Antonio Inoki. I don't know if you've ever heard that name. You probably have, because he actually had one of the first and one and only boxer versus wrestling matches with Muhammad Ali.
Yep.
Antonio Inoki, Saito, once he went back and he started wrestling for Inoki, those two guys actually had a match in Japan that lasted for more than 2 hours.
Wow.
So the Japanese wrestlers, they nicknamed him Mr. Torture for his punishing and sadistic style in the ring.
Okay, I can believe that. Simply thinking about getting in the ring with him would be torture for, I think, anybody. All right, I can't wait to see the demonstration of his Japanese sleeper hold later in this Studcast. All right, so can you give us the Southeastern Card as you take us back in time the week of January 26th through Sunday, February 2nd, 1981?
Well, it was another great one, Dave. In the opening match, you had newcomer Larry Horn was facing Oki Shikina. Charlie Cook was returning, faced the Avenger. Robert Gibson was still angry with Ron Bass about what Ron Bass had done to his brother months earlier, but he wasn't going to get his wish to get a match with him at this point, and he was going to end up having to wrestle Alexis Smirnoff. And before we go any further, man, I'd like to back up and then point out some things that happened the week before that made the rest of this card so exciting for all the fans. The week before, it started off with those two tournaments, one for a Corvette, the other one for the United States Junior Heavyweight Championship. And so let's look at Birmingham's Corvette tournament first. The final match in that tournament was Paul Orndorff against Dennis Condre. They were wrestling for the car. When the referee was accidentally knocked down, Randy Rose, standing back there in the back, obviously watching his partner's match, he went running to the ring. Basically, he sneaked up behind Paul Orndorff at this point, and he knocked him out with something. I don't know what he hit him with, but Dennis Condre ended up winning the Corvette. After that match, Paul desperately wanted a shot, not just at the guy that had beaten him, but also the guy that caused him to lose. So, he wanted both those guys. And Norvell Austin, had been his partner in the past in another territory. He was more than happy to help Paul out. So that was a tag match going to be on this card between the four of them. It was going to be one of the matches in the four markets the next week, but it was not for the belts. On the night after the Corvette was given away in Birmingham, Jerry Stubbs was facing the World Junior Heavyweight Champion Les Thornton in Mobile. And why did that one match shock the world? Les Thornton was beaten by our boy Jerry Stubbs, man. And So then on the same night, Stubbs won world title. Brad Armstrong won the tournament for Stubbs' old belt, the United States Junior Heavyweight Championship belt. And it had been held up due to a problem between Stubbs and Jimmy Golden. So on this card, another great match, both greedy. Stubbs being greedy as always, he demanded a shot at Brad's new belt, but he wasn't willing to defend his world title belt. That was a typical Stubbs. So, and in my first round match in the Corvette tournament, I had wrestled Johnny Valiant. It was the last match in the first round of the tournament, and I ended up breaking Johnny Valiant's leg. And so Ron Bass and his brother Donnie, they were both watching the match from the back of the building, and they realized I broke his leg, and they came running down to the ring. And before I could get my hand raised and get out of the ring, they got into the ring. And then they decided to try to break my leg. And then they might have gotten the job done if it hadn't been for my cousin Jimmy Golden. Came to my rescue. They both ran from the ring about the time Valiant was being placed on a stretcher, and he left Southeastern forever. So the next night in Mobile, I was scheduled to wrestle Valiant for my Southeastern belt. When the fans were told that Valiant had a broken leg, I was expecting a win by default. But I was dressed just in case. You never knew as a wrestler. But suddenly, Ron Bass showed up at the ring, ready to wrestle, demanding to take Johnny Valiant's place. So we had a wild match, and when it was I was about to beat Bass, his brother Donnie sneaked down to the ring, and he had one of Ron Bass's bull ropes. I don't know how many bull ropes Ron Bass had, but he had one of them. And he grabbed the referee, threw him over the top rope out of the ring. He wrapped the rope around my throat and then threw me over the top rope and hung me. And again, thank goodness, Jimmy came, saved me again. And they ran back to the dressing room. So we challenged them. We're already in the ring, and I got my breath back. We challenged them to a double bull rope the following Tuesday night. We went back to the dressing room with their bull rope. We actually got a hold of their bull rope, and we took one of them back to the dressing room with us. At this point, fans were going crazy. Something, I would never see. I thought I would never see that after he had been one of the nastiest heels in the Southeastern Territory. Now all of a sudden he was an angel.
Yeah.
Since returning to wrestling after a 9-month injury, fans had just decided he was a great guy. So the last match in Birmingham the week before was for the Alabama Championship belt for Bob Armstrong. He won it 2 months earlier in the tournament right there in Birmingham, and this was his first title defense of it. He was defending against one of the most talented Japanese wrestlers in the world, and I don't think anybody would argue that fact with me, Saito. And with both Condre and Rose's help, Saito won the match, and he left with the belt. And he was going to be defending against Bob Armstrong in all 4 of the markets on this same card. Then, after all of that, we had the biggest match of the night, the 18-man, 2-ring, over-the-top rope, triple chance battle royal, $10,000 prize going to the 2 winners. And the spectacular event, this one was when all of the major markets as well, and it was on the last week of January 1981.
All right, then. All right, I love the way that you covered this card, Stud. Kind of like how a booker would break down what was happening. That card for this Studcast had to have been an absolute fantastic night of wrestling anywhere in the world. All right, so how did the TV show to promote this outstanding card open up?
There was going to be, on this TV show from the very beginning, a lot going on. But I was particularly interested in what Don Curtis had to say about future events for Southeastern during this time frame. Once we turned into the new year, he began to spend a lot of bread. And Les and Charlie were plugging future TV shows coming in the next month and did an excellent job of breaking down what Curtis really wanted them to say. So that's going to be the first thing that we're going to hear, and in these videos that are upcoming here.
All right, so I know this was the last TV show in January of 1981, and February was always one of the 4 TV rating periods in the year and extremely important to all TV programs. So I look forward to hearing this, as well as having been in that kind of business before. So our producer, Brian, is going to play the future promo from the opening of this TV show. Let it roll, Brian. Here we go.
On television, February Championship Month. During that month, we will see defended here on the television program the Southeastern Heavyweight title. I might mention there, this is a very important title because Harley Race will be arriving in the area in March. The man holding that title should be the one facing Harley for the World Heavyweight Championship. The Southeastern Tag Team belts will be defended on television. The Alabama State title and the United States Junior Heavyweight title. All 4 of these titles will be defended one each week for the entire month of February. Coming soon to the area, Ken Lucas, who mentioned world champion Harley Race, Condre the Giant, and 2 additions to that, Mr. USA Tony Atlas and Mr. Wrestling Tucho.
Indeed, and something that...
4 championship matches coming on TV in the next month, and the names on the way like a who's who of professional wrestling. All right, so who was in the first TV match of that TV show, Ron?
Well, it was a new tag team combination, at least in Southeastern. Paul Orndorff and Norvell Austin had been tag partners in another territory, but this, back in the early days of their sport. And both those guys were pretty young at this point still. And this was a very good first time together in Southeastern. This was going to be their first one. And they look like champions, man, from the beginning of this match. They got a double pin at the same time. In fact, on the end, Norvell caught one guy with his diving headbutt, and Paul got the other one with that unique suplex of his, that suplex pin, I call it. So after the commercial break, for fans that had never seen a 2-ring triple chance battle royal, we did a pre-cut interview with the Tennessee Stud, Paul Orndorff, and Norvell Austin in one studio, Ron Bass, Dennis Condre, Randy Rose, and Masa Saiito in Studio B. And in that 4-minute span, we did our best to explain one of these tremendous matches and how they worked.
All right, so I saw a few of those, but I never saw an explanation of how they worked. It made very good sense to do this in advance so that fans in the arena who had never seen one of these matches could understand what was happening. All right, so Brian, our producer, once again, is going to do his magic. Here we go.
Wrestling history in that city, this type of match, very soon a 2-ring, triple chance over the top rope battle royal, in which you'll see any place from 15 to 25 wrestlers. The match we're talking about will involve 18. The winners will receive $10,000. Now, we're going to talk to some of the wrestlers that participated in this type of thing. With me now, Norvell Austin, Paul Orndorff, and Ron Fuller, the Tennessee Stud. And Ron, in this type of match, we're talking about, we start with 18 men in one ring, and you and I might go through the rules and regulations of this type of contest. So your first chance is in ring 1.
That's right. And in ring 1, you have to be thrown over the top rope into ring 2. If you're thrown over the top rope on any other side of the ring 1, you're able to come back in, and you haven't lost your first chance.
So the second chance is in ring 2 once you've been thrown into that ring. Then to be eliminated totally from the match, you have to be thrown out one of 3 sides of that ring onto the arena floor.
That's right. You go out any side of ring 2, and you are basically and forever eliminated from the battle royal. You've lost both chances there. But the last 2 men in ring 1 stay in ring 1, and then the last 2 participants in ring 2 stay in ring 2. And after everyone else is eliminated, then there's a tag team match, and at the end of that match, those 2 winners split $10,000
prize money. Right. So it's the 2 finalists in ring 1 against the 2 finalists in ring 2. And Paul, this can bring up some unique situations because it's possible that you could be left in one ring or the other if you're down to the final 4 with someone that you don't get along with, someone that you have wrestled in the past. It could be a Ron Bass, it could be a Dennis Condre, it could be a Mr. Saiito as your partner, so you're in a position for $10,000 to make amends, at least briefly, for one match anyway.
That's very true, Les. That's why it's a very unique type of a match. You don't see too many of the double ring, the battle royals like this here because like I say, there's 18 people in there. There's a lot of bodies. There's a lot of money at stake. You never know who's going to be your partner, so everything's up in the air. You don't know what's going to happen. It's you know, like anytime there's money up like that, 10 grand, a lot of things can happen. And just like you said earlier, you don't know who your partner's going to be, and you just got to forget about that and just go out there and try to win that money, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Exactly. Norvell, and later on in the program, we're going to be seeing a double ring battle royal where you and Paul were partners in that particular match. But as we mentioned, it could be someone that you've wrestled against very recently. And how do you feel as you go out? Normally, if it were Paul or Ron, you know your partner's covering your back. But in this situation, you can't always be certain.
Yeah, it kind of breaks concentration a little bit if you wind up with somebody that's not you're not real tight with. It breaks your concentration a lot, and it's kind of tough to win when you're not concentrating on the match. But like Paul said a minute ago, you got to try to trust whoever you wind up with, because 10 grand is a lot of money. Split down two ways, making 5 grand a piece, a lot of money, man.
In another studio, we have Ron Bass, Dennis Condre, Randy Rose, and Mr. Saiito, also involved in this big match coming up in Birmingham. Let's hear their views on a 2-ring triple chance battle royal.
$10,000, triple chance, a battle royal. Well, that's going to be fine. Birmingham, Alabama, boys. Old Moneybag, Mr. Don Curtis is going to turn loose of it again. Well, I'm going to tell you something, people. Whenever you get us out there in that ring, we're not going to take this thing personal. It's not a personal thing to us. It is all money. Whether it comes down to a team with any of us individuals here or anyone else, that's fine, because we're going to get in there and do what we got to do to win. Now, there's going to be people out there chasing other people. There's animosities. I think this Robert Gibson is chasing me. He says, I heard his brother. Well, that's fine. Just come on, Gibson. Ron Fuller, you better be watching your back, because you got something we all want, baby.
Me and my cousin got some fresh meat. Orndorff and Austin. Sue it, baby, sue it. I tell you what, cuz, we done drove away in the black vet. Now we're going to drive away with the money, baby. Wine, women, song, and money.
Mr. Saito, $10,000 battle royal.
Oh, I like a $10,000. I like American dollar. We guarantee we take American dollar.
All right.
A big party.
Party down, baby.
Here, everything.
To me, that was extremely interesting and an excellent way to teach fans what was happening even before they got to the arena to watch one of these matches. All right, so how many of these, Ron, do you think you were in your career? And did anything in particular ever happen in one that you remember or that stands out?
Well, geez, Dave, I guess I was probably in at least 20 of those in my career.
Wow.
And, they were extremely popular, especially in the southern United States. I have at least one memory that jumps out at me instantly when I think back about these 2-ring battle royals. And when you walked into any arena, man, the first thing that struck you if you went to one of these was how big those 2 rings were sitting in the middle of the building. And the first thing you noticed was the 2 rings jammed together and how much room they took up in most buildings, especially if you were in a smaller building. You were in a big arena, it was not as profound as it was the other way. And on the side of the 2 rings where they were pushed together, the ropes between each one of those rings had to be at least 5 feet apart. So you had to throw men out of the ring, out of ring one, as the rules went for this type of event. You had to throw them over the top rope, and you had to throw them over on the side of the ring where the other ring was. So usually they would fall down between the ropes, and then they would crawl on into the second ring because they had officially been eliminated from the first ring.
Right. And
that was called being the first chance. That's why they called it a triple chance. Well, that was the first chance, was to see how long you could stay in ring one. Well, everybody kind of fell between the 2 rings once they went over the top rope that you were in and onto the 2 aprons of both the rings that were pushed together. And it would have been almost impossible to be thrown over both sets of ropes. That occurred to me, the first one I was ever in. It was like, wow, there's quite a distance between these 2 sets of ropes. So there was a wrestler named Sputnik Monroe, man, and he was a real nut. Monroe was always a part. And, and it was his first battle royal, and it was my first two-ring battle royal. And when it got started, and about half the guys were already thrown over into ring 2, Sputnik grabbed me and he screamed, and he had to scream because these matches were so exciting that fans never quieted. Sometimes the whole thing would just be a roar. And so he screamed at me, and he shouted, he said, backdrop me over into the other ring.
Right. Okay.
Backdrop me, right? And I'd already checked it out, and in my opinion, nobody was going to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, right.
So fly from one ring across both sets of ropes and land in the other ring. So I told him no. I said, "You're nuts." I said, "I'm not going to be responsible for killing you." But he wouldn't take no for an answer, man. He body slammed me in the spot where he wanted me to backdrop him from. And he screamed he said, "Here I come," and he took off for the ropes on the far side of the ring. It's like, well, what am I going to do? So, I didn't have enough time to set myself the first time. And I didn't flip him far enough as far as I needed to, But I was bent forward at the waist, and I stumbled a little backward. And when he crashed into me and landed kind of awkwardly on my back, I sent him as high as I could, but he didn't make it. And I turned around real quick. I wanted to see him take the bump. I was like, wow. I don't know what this is going to look like. And he came down between the top rope and the middle rope of the other ring head first into the mat.
Wow.
I thought it broke his neck. I thought
wow.
I thought, oh boy, I killed Sputs.
Didn't you say it was like 5 feet between ropes?
Oh yeah, 5 feet. He'd had to fly over at least 5 foot to get there, right? And he didn't make it. So he nosedived head first into the mat. So I started to go get him. I figured it knocked him out at least, and he started crawling back in the ring toward me, right? And when he got back in, and he was trying to get on his feet, he screamed, "Let's try it again." And he headed for the ropes again on the far side of the ring. Well, this time I had a little more time to get ready, and I knew what the heck to expect. And boy, I shot him skyward, man. I turned around as fast as I could to watch him. And he flew like a bird, man, over both sets of ropes. He landed almost in the middle of the other ring. It was the biggest pop of the night. Maybe one of the biggest pops of all time that I can remember in the ring.
Wow. All right, so tell me again. What position were you? He came off the ropes and headed towards you. You had your back to where the point was where both rings were together, right?
Right.
All right. So were you bent over and about to take him up from there as you raised up?
That's it. That's called a backdrop. And, he just ran basically and put his top of his body onto my back. And I flipped him as high as I could.
The human catapult.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
That's a fantastic story, Stud.
Oh, and I tell you, everybody in the dressing room, that's all they talked about. Sputnik taking a backdrop from one ring to another in the two-ring battle royal.
Okay, so after the first bump, he landed on his head. He hits this one successfully or enough so that the crowd just went crazy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the crowd was watching. They had seen it the first time. They popped on the first one, but when he made it, then they really popped.
And what was the problem with him not having to do it again? Did he not go over both ropes over the top?
Yeah, he didn't make it the first time. He didn't make it into the second ring. That's what he wanted to do. And,
gotcha. Okay.
He had his mind made up.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
He was the type of guy that wasn't going to fail.
Oh my God.
So he took another shot at it.
That is incredible. All right, so how about the second match on the TV show? If you can follow that, let's see what happened there.
Well, remember 2 studcasts ago, Brian had been injured by Condre and Rose, and when he crawled on top of his father to keep Condre from jumping off the top rope on Bob, and Condre landed on Brad's back and across his ribs as a result. And last week, Saiito, seeing Brad at the TV station without his father and knowing his ribs were hurt, came to the set and slapped Brad, hoping to give Brad the opportunity to attack him. And because Saiito wanted the opportunity to hurt him worse, right? And I think you remember, those that remember last week's what happened, that was a pretty nasty scene. I mean, that Jap, wow, he had some tough hands on him. And so on this week's TV show, Saiito was invited to demonstrate his Japanese-style sleeper hold, right? And he had used it a couple of times since he'd been there. And so Roy Lee Welch, one of the partners in the company, he agreed to go in the ring with Saiito and let Saiito put the hold on him, right? And then it was just a demonstration, supposed to be just a demonstration. So Saiito was becoming a terror in Southeastern, man. I mean, and he was deserving that nickname of being Mr. Torture at this point. So that's what we're going to be seeing next is what happened in this demo.
All right.
Of Saiito.
Awesome. I can't wait to see this one, Ron. All right, so Brian, our producer, is going to play Saito's demonstration of his sleeper hold that took place at the Dothan TV station, WTVY television, way back in the day when it was out on the Columbia Highway. Now that studio is downtown, but this was back in the old day. We're talking Saturday, January 24th, 1981. Brian, let's see that footage.
Mr. Saiito, and Mr. Saiito, a lot of people have been wanting to understand the way you use your sleeper or your cobra hold, which is so much different from everyone else's. So we've asked you to come in and demonstrate us and show us exactly move for move how you do the sleeper hold.
Okay, I show you, American people, my sleeper hold, I show you now.
Okay, step by step, very slowly, if you will, Roy. Well, demonstration. Right, and when you feel yourself going, just tap him.
All right, I'll tap you on. Don't worry about slowly.
Okay.
Okay?
Slowly, please go through it step by
Shake your
step.
hand. Oh, thank you. Very good. So you come in here, grab my left side, right side. I grab
the
my
left arm.
Outside.
Come across. Underneath, going up under the left arm.
Very important here.
Very important sight. When he clamps off. Wait a minute, he's out. Wait a minute, he's going down. Bring it up. Referee. Saiito clamping down on the carotid artery.
Mr. Saiito.
Oh, wait a minute now. All right,
Saiito. In that demonstration, Saiito going after Welch. The referee tries to pull him off. Now it's Bob Armstrong. Armstrong coming into the ring. Mr. Saiito supposed to be giving it his demonstration of his very unusual sleeper hold. He did not relinquish the hold as Roy Welch was going out, and then Saiito grabs referee Larry Brock. Coming in to break it up, Bob Armstrong.
all right, Roy?
And Armstrong coming to the rescue of...
Go back to the desk to Charlie Platt. We'll join him over there, Bob, if you don't mind.
Armstrong coming to the rescue of not only referee Larry Brock, but Roy Welch. It was Mr. Saiito not wanting to relinquish that hold, that patented sleeper that he has. Supposed to have been a demonstration. Of course, it did get out of hand. Roy tapped him to turn loose. I tapped him, and of course, he did not turn loose. But it was supposed to be...
I understood that was supposed to be a demonstration. When the man bears down, you have to referee, too. I know what that hole will do to you. I've been in it before, and that's ridiculous. A demonstration is a demonstration. He wasn't out here to hurt anybody.
That's right.
We have a piece of video.
All right, all I can think to say was Saiito crazy or what? He didn't stop with just Roy Lee. He attacked the referee, who was not involved in anything. All right, so was this the first time Bob got involved with Saiito?
No, man, it certainly wasn't. Really, the first time, I think, was just a few days earlier when he lost his Alabama championship to Saiito with the help of Condre and Rose. So, and that's how Saiito got his hands on the Alabama belt and became the Alabama champion the first time, and it wasn't going to be his last time.
All right, gotcha. All right, so now take us through the personality profile. Set that up for us, Stud.
Well, there was 4 men in it. Tennessee stud, Jimmy Golden, Ron Bass, and Don Bass, his brother Don. And it was all about the upcoming tag matches against each other. With one of those matches in particular, the one in Mobile, there was going to be a double bull rope match. And this has a short introduction from the set with both Charlie and Les, where it was the stud's first time to be on the set with Jimmy. Okay, so we're going to see a little thing about me and Jimmy, and then both Bass boys were in Studio B with one of their bull ropes.
Okay, so we're going to start with that short introduction from the set, and Ron, can you describe things after that? And Brian, in the meantime, is going to play the 1-minute introduction of this personality profile. Here it is.
Coming out to join us now, 2 gentlemen, Jimmy Golden and the Tennessee Stud. And we have some videotape highlights, Ron, of a match you had with John Bass.
That's right, and before we get into it, I'd like to say, I know a lot of people out there are probably very confused, and I never thought that I'd see myself standing here or sitting here on the same set with Jimmy Golden, because there's been a lot of bad blood between myself and Jimmy, my brother and Jimmy, but nonetheless, I think I have seen a change in Jimmy Golden. I've had hundreds of fans from around this part of the country say, take Jimmy Golden back. He has had a change of heart. He's a good man now, and I tell you what, I've had some great partners in my time, but I don't think anybody can do a better job than that man sitting right there.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, Ron. I tell you, it's been a long time that we've been together and what have you, and it really gets me right here, and I'm just glad that we're together, man, and we're going to raise some cane. We're going to get rid of some New York trash is what we're going to do.
That's exactly right. Now you can roll the film and we'll show you.
You can hear how fans in the studio felt about the Stud's decision to take Jimmy back, especially after the Stud explained to fans how Jimmy had saved him a couple of times lately, actually just a few days earlier, from being hurt badly, and said he had complete confidence in Jimmy now. The Stud and Golden explained how they got one of Ron Bass's bull ropes, and we're looking forward to this showdown. When the cameras switched from the other studio into the other studio with Ron and Don Bass, there was an explosion of boos from the studio audience. They had some real heat at this point, especially considering that Don Bass had just been back in the territory for only a week or so. So Big Ron Bass did all the talking, and he told fans to get ready for the last TV match today, that it was going to be him and his brother in it. And they promised the idiots, he called them in the studio over there, that you're going to be in for the surprise of your lives. And especially when we get to this double bull rope match later in the week.
You know, I thought last week's Birmingham and Mobile cards were 2 of the best cards ever. But with this double bull rope, 2 championship matches, and an 18-man 2-ring triple chance battle royal with $10,000 to the winners, this card was just as good and maybe better. So who is in the 3rd segment on this TV show?
Well, this is going to be the longest TV segment since we started doing these new Studcasts. It's going to begin with Brad and his still injured ribs against the other Japanese wrestler in the territory, Oki Shikina. They're going to have a match, and it's going to end with Bob Armstrong and Saiito going at it like madmen.
All right, so I can't wait for this one. Bob and Saiito really going at it for the first time. All right, so Brian is going to take us back to Southeastern in 1981, one of the best territories in the world. Here we go.
Limit, introducing at 240 pounds from Japan, the Japanese destroyer Oki Shikina. His opponent at 208 pounds from Marietta, Georgia, Brad Armstrong.
Brad Armstrong out against Oki Shikina, the man that calls himself the Japanese destroyer. And of course, here is the vitality and the exuberance of youth against the rugged, rough Japanese veteran Armstrong against Shikina as Brad comes up with the headlock. Oki maneuvers him into that corner, gets the break, and they start fresh once again, jockeying for position, feeling one another out, collar and elbow. Headlock and a reversal by Brad, coming up with a hammerlock, and Shikina moving to the ropes to get the break, Charlie.
Of course, Brad having his problems in recent weeks, less with injuries, especially to that rib cage, and recent matches, tag team action, and Brad's not a quitter. He keeps going.
Exactly. A fine young man, admired by many, even a lot of the veterans. Begrudgingly, nonetheless, gives him a lot of credit for a short period of time in that pro ring, Charlie, but a lot of great results have come his way. Right now, Shikina applying a nerve hold to the trapezius area of Brad Armstrong. Of course, you can see the ribs, the rib area, heavily taped and wrapped. Brad receiving quite a bit of punishment last week here on our television ring, and unscheduled with Mr. Saiito. And then again, as we're going to see on tape later on, Rose and Condre worked those ribs over extensively. So Brad still in there, battling, wanting to stay with it and not giving the ribs a rest. And, of course, only time will tell whether that's going to be a positive or a negative effect, Charlie.
Ring veteran Oki Shikina, a tough opponent for Brad Armstrong. Shikina knows the ins and outs of the sports, and he knows how to take those shortcuts.
As we mentioned while we're watching this action, Johnny Valiant with a broken leg, saying credit or blame, whichever you want to call it, goes to the Tennessee stud. And like I say, I think we'll be talking about that later on in the program.
Front chancery now by Shikina and Brad Armstrong. Brad looking for some means of escape. Pulling that arm around. There he goes. Into a hammerlock. Good move.
Oki finds the ropes and gets his break once again. Shikina using the ropes wisely. Each time that Brad comes up with a good solid hold, Oki's been able to move to those ropes and get the break and a fresh start, and hasn't had to relinquish too much offensively. Right now, Armstrong cranking up on that headlock. And Shikina with the tackle back to the headlock. Hip in, take down, and in command.
It looks like Shikina using those tights to pull Brad over for a pin, but it's only a 1 count, and Brad comes back out of it and goes right back to that side headlock.
Moving up to their feet once again. Brad still cranking down on that headlock, and Oki takes a handful of hair, maneuvers young Armstrong back in the corner, and a chop. Staggers him in again. Shikina opening up now, and he's found his spot and moves in with that front chancery.
Tightening up on the pressure. Brad looking for that corner over on the ropes. Brad Armstrong taking Shikina into that turnbuckle, but Shikina, with a little foresight, comes up, catches Brad off guard, and goes to work on those ribs.
And he's concentrating. Certainly that bandaged area is like a red flag to a bull. It's only drawing attention, but nonetheless, the rib area needs to be heavily taped and bandaged as it is. A lot of fans, Charlie, some wrestlers wondering if Brad can go it in singles after having the tag belts with his father, then relinquish to Rose and Condre. Brad has said that he is more than ready to try and prove that particular point to wrestlers and fans and promoters alike, the fact that he can make it on his own.
Armstrong in trouble, but Armstrong, good move. Brad Armstrong was in trouble against Shikina, but he catches Shikina off guard for the pin, and your winner of the match is Brad Armstrong.
Brad found an opening, and his father, Bob, joined us right now. And, Bob, we were just discussing the rib cage problems Brad has had, and, of course, the tape upcoming involves that same injury.
That's exactly right. Brad's taped up here, but he wanted to try it on his own, see if he could handle it, and obviously he did the job. I know it's painful. I've had broken ribs, and anybody that has knows how it feels, but I'm real proud of him today. He did the job and did it good.
He certainly did. Well, we're talking about Rose and Condre and the Armstrongs, and, of course, Mr. Saiito involved in what we're about to see. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's roll the action. Rose and Condre against Brad and Bob Armstrong.
Now, here things got a little wild, and Brad and I both were in the ring. They'd been working on his ribs. They caused the injury a few weeks ago themselves, and looks here like we had things pretty good. And here comes Saiito, who I'd had problems with earlier. There's a blow from the back. He's very good at karate, no doubt about that. Brad tried to save me there, but he got hooked and got a good chop there, too. And we've both been through a match already. You know, these three have formed what you might call a terrific trio there. They're ganging up. Now, you can see Saiito, he's putting it on me while Rose and Condre are working on Brad over here. I will have to say this for that Japanese gentleman, that he's got hands as hard as a rock. And right here, he opened me up real good over the eye. One of those chops just split me, and it took 12 stitches to close it up. But, you know, this is backfighting. You know, this is not one-on-one situation. Thank goodness some people were watching the thing, and they came in, and finally Rose and Condre and Saiito, the terrific trio, chose to split. I knew Brad was hurt at this time, and all I could think of was getting Brad out of there. I wanted to get him back in the dressing room, get him in that shower, because I know when you got those cracked ribs like that, anytime you take a deep breath, it's going to hurt.
Of course, Bob, reverting back to this thing with you and Saiito, it more or less came to a head last week right here on this set where Saiito antagonized Brad into that ring and went to work on his ribs.
And that was Rose and Condre's doing. They sent the Japanese gentleman out here to grab Brad and antagonize him. He slapped Brad, and Brad knocked the devil out of him. They went into the ring, and he got caught with the karate. Now, here's a good example of Saiito's a really brave man. I just turned around. I heard the crowd screaming. I turned around, and there he's chopping me again. I was already opened up. I had blood in my eyes, and right here I was just trying to stay on my feet and stay conscious, and this Japanese gentleman, he was doing his thing. You know, he thought he had everything going his way, and at this point he did. It was hard for me to stand up. I was using the ropes, trying to keep my balance, and here's the Japanese gentleman. He's really having a ball right now, brother. He's really having a ball. He's just using those hard hands and chopping and aiming. He opened me up real good. It tore half my eyebrow out with those chops. So he's got things going his way, but you know, every dog has his day, and in a minute he's going to mess up. He's expecting me to go down any time, and the truth, I was expecting him to go down any time. Here he had me in the corner, and he finally had me trapped. Now here the referee's trying to keep some kind of order. He grabbed him, he pushed the referee down, and that gave me a chance to catch him with a little chop of my own, brother, and he bit the dust. Now, turnabout is fair play. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And now it's my time, brother. I'm going to show you a little American karate here. I'm going to jack your jaw, knock you down, step on you, do whatever I can, because I had took a beating, I had took a licking, I'm keeping on ticking, and I'm chopping that man from Tokyo to L.A., brother. And there's a good old American right cross.
Bob Saiito, of course, tends to differ with the how tough the American karate style is.
Well, he's always knocking. He's knocking everything in America. Now, there he caught me with a karate kick that took the breath. He's going for the Japanese sleeper here, but I reversed it, and I hooked the cobra hold on him here. And I had him pretty good. You know, he wasn't going to get away. And again, you're going to see the other part of the terrific trio, Condre, Rose, and Saiito, are coming in to do their number. Now, they're thumping on my head, but I was determined this time I was not going down. I was going to hurt somebody. I was going to try my dead level best not to be the last one hurt. Here he is, having a field day, right? I'm trying to kick at him. I finally got my hands on that Japanese dude, and I wasn't going to let go. Rose and Condre could have tore my arms out because I'm hanging on, brother. Here they're trying to pull me off of him. The referee's grabbing. Everything just kind of went haywire. At this point, I couldn't see very much because I had blood in my eye, but I knew I had a hold of that Japanese gentleman, and I wasn't about to let go. Now, here comes the troops again, thank goodness, but I had a good handful of hair, and it would have took a Mack truck to pull him away from me at this time, but they grabbed the back of my feet there, and there wasn't nothing I could do. When they pulled him away from me, it was like just pulling part of my teeth out because I wanted him so bad. You know, one thing about America, he's already knocking Americans. We believe in going face-to-face. We don't do any backstabbing. He might be tough, no doubt about it. They say he's got the strongest hand in wrestling, and I can attain to that. 12 stitches in my forehead will attest to that fact. But here they finally got us apart. He wants to come back. I want him to let me go, but the referee saw fit to break it up at this time. But, you know, it hadn't settled anything. We had a battle. The war is not over. One way, shape, or form, Mr. Saiito is going to get his just like everybody does in the end. He's had his day, and mine is a-coming.
Comment to Bob Armstrong. Congratulations, Brad, on that win today on television, and best of luck to you and Bob. We'll be back with more of Southeastern Championship Wrestling in just a moment.
Okay, no wonder the territory was on fire. That was some of the best action I have ever seen in Southeastern. So I think Ron Bass and Don Bass already told us during the personality profile they were going to be in the last match of the day. So tell us what happened in that one, Stud.
Well, basically, it was a massacre. I mean, they brought 2 bull ropes into the ring, and they didn't wait for the announcement of who they were or the bell to ring. They just tore into 2 poor young wrestlers and took those steel cowbells, and I mean, they had those boys really, really hurt, man, and they were working on them. And me and Jimmy are in the dressing room watching it, and we said, we got to go stop this. They're going to kill them boys. And so me and Jimmy went to the ring. They slid out. They didn't want any more at that point. I guess they made their point. And wow, they really intended to do something big time, and they did it.
All right, so that's a great TV show, absolutely. So what happened in the arenas the next week? I'm excited to hear how you set that up.
Well, the new United States Junior Heavyweight Champion, Brad Armstrong, and Jerry Stubbs, who was at this point the new World Junior Heavyweight Champion, they wrestled to a 30-minute time limit draw for Brad's belt. Not for Jerry's belt, but for Brad's belt. Paul Orndorff and Norvell Austin, they beat the Southeastern Tag Champions, Dennis Condre and Randy Rose, in a non-title match. So the belt wasn't at stake, but they were going to be getting a title match the next week. Saiito got himself disqualified in this return match for the Alabama State Championship against the former champion Bob Armstrong, and they would be returning in a no disqualification title match the next week for the belt. The double bull rope match was Ron Don against Tennessee Stud and Jimmy Golden, and they were not going to discuss this one in this show, and we'll talk about this one in the next Studcast, which is going to be number 388. And, you know, all I can say is Jimmy Golden is going to proudly show everything that happened. Then in the 2-ring battle royals, they were tremendous, all 4 of them. And they all had different winners every night in each of the 4 cities, and they were going to continue to be one of the most popular matches ever, not just in Southeastern, but in the country.
All right, so what was the attendances for the week that you have just finished?
Birmingham fans got their first look at a 2-ring battle royal. They had never seen one before, and there was again 6,000 in Boutwell. I mean, you know, wow, we would just Birmingham had become a monster city for wrestling again. Mobile was in the main arena for the last time for a while. It had 9,000 people. Montgomery had over 5,000 at 5,200. Dothan packed out the Farm Center. It had 5,500. 25,704 nights.
Wow. All right. That's incredible again. This has been an absolutely phenomenal Studcast. Just the 7th new Studcast since the opening of the Tennessee Stud Streaming.com channel, and is, in my opinion, definitely the best so far. There is no comparison between the old and new Studcast. And to those new Studcast subscribers, we greatly appreciate your support and hope you will tell everybody out there about what I think is the best old school wrestling streaming channel anywhere. All right, Stud, how do you top it? Where do we ride next week?
Well, it seems like I'm always saying, you know, we have another tremendous card for the next Studcast, but wow, that's what we do. I mean, Jimmy Golden is going to be showing the video of what he considered his greatest triumph, the match that happened in this Studcast, and he starts accepting challenges after this from wrestlers all around the world that are personal friends of Ron Fuller, the Tennessee stud. And the first of those is going to be Tony Atlas out of Atlanta, Georgia. Bob Armstrong and Saiito battles, they were just beginning, with more Alabama championship matches. New United States Junior Heavyweight Champion Brad Armstrong and the new World Junior Champion Jerry Stubbs going to be giving fans some of the greatest matches of all time. Wow, those two guys wrestled.
Wow.
They were good. Paul Orndorff, Norvell Austin, going to test the strength of Southeastern Tag Champions, Condre and Rose. And next Studcast, Condre's going to test Paul's arm wrestling ability as well. I mean, yeah, we had Paul a couple of weeks ago with one that was out of the Bits Out territory with Ox Baker, and now Dennis Condre's going to want to see if he can take Paul Armstrong in an arm wrestling contest.
All right, cool deal. All right, any last comments for this big show today, Ron?
I want to thank all our listeners for their continued support, and I hope they're enjoying the new Studcast as much as I enjoy bringing it to them. And please take care of yourselves and others, and may God bless us all.
For Ron Fuller in the Great Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, I'm David Summers saying thank you for listening. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/dsummers955. You'll find me on Twitter, now known as X2, at Dave_Doin. On Instagram, it's instagram.com/David Summers Productions. And hit me up anytime at davidsummersproductions@gmail.com. This Studcast is a David Summers production for Tennessee Stud LLC.
Thanks for joining us today for this historic Studcast. The true story continues next week. So full Nelson your friends and point them in our direction for another ride with the Tennessee Stud.
1, 2, 3.
This is David Summers saying so long from the Great Smoky Mountains.